So yes, it's quite a random video. Do it for Wednesday. Try and keep it as brief as I possibly can. It's just a little collection of Creed fragrances that I got to sniff from Claire Perfumes and Kay from Instagram. I will somehow put them in here. Anyway, there's just 6, thankfully, and they are more modern ones. They're from the female marketed collection. I could have put the others I'd tried from the male marketed collection in here, but there's no point, is there? It's not going to be a wildly exciting one. One of them in particular, I do remember a much older formulation that was not like the new one I've got. I mean, we'll just crack on into it. It's some random Creed samples, that's ultimately all it is. What I will say is, you know, in terms of balance and stuff, I'll try to be balanced, but also they're not cheap samples, are they? The sprayers on them are just pitiful. For a so-called luxury brand, it's pitiful. To try and get something out of them is like a miracle. I mean, they're not the wonderfully historic brand of Creed anymore, are they? They're owned by somebody else. So who's to blame? Who knows? Us, the consumer. How dare we not be able to use these dodgy, crappy atomizers? Anyway, we'll crack on with it. They're not in any sort of order. I'll just crack on. Windflowers. This is one I'd tried quite a while ago, actually, but for the purpose of the video we may as well mention it again, and maybe my taste, you know, and my conceptual opinion on it has altered. We'll see. So Windflowers, it basically opens with a huge sweet peach, an orange blossom, with a kind of praline note going on in the bottom, and a obvious, I mean, it sounds obvious, it's modern perfumery, a supersonic blast of ambroxan. It's not easy to pick anything out particularly, just some kind of sweet florals and that kind of praline or praline, however you say it, feel with a kind of more and more sharp ambroxan. The weird sweet rubber comes through. I remember that from last time, like you've been trying to think of a polite way, rubbing a rubber and a razor, and it's warmed up, and with some sort of floral sweetness again in the background, and the sharp ambroxan, and it dries down, woody ambroxan with a bizarre saffrony feel. Now, how did I feel about this one? Do you know what? I didn't hate it as much as when I tried it months ago. Maybe I've just got so used to the plethora of ambroxan, hairspray, you know, these kind of fragrances at the moment, that maybe I'm just starting to get immune to, and it's just like, meh, another one. It's not great, in my humble opinion. That's subjective, of course. It's not original. It's not something I'd associate with luxury. What is luxury, I suppose? That's all I have to say about it. That's polite. So yeah, that's Windflowers. So next is one I'd never heard of before, I'm not gonna lie, and that's Acqua Fiorentina. So this one opens with a kind of sharp plummy apple, and, well, not surprisingly, an aquatic feel. There's a lot of citrus, quite sharp, and it's extremely generic. That appley note does dominate a bit, and the sharp notes round it are all subjectively unpleasant on my skin. It reminds me of the taste of an apple shampoo or hand soap. You know, like you've got a bit in your mouth and it's that kind of thing. It dries down a bit more like an appley peach tea, which isn't the worst, but it's still got a lot of sharpness in there. This one, it wasn't for me again. It doesn't smell like light blue, because I don't think light blue has apple. Of course it doesn't. It's got that vibe with that weird apple note. What more do you want me to say? It's just like you know, so many of them, like a 90s kind of aquatic freshie. Yeah, that's it. Like I said, I didn't want to make this a long video particularly. People may love this, they may not. There may be a reason I've never heard of it. But that's Acqua Fiorentina. So next is one of the more recent ones. Hyped to high hell, to unbelievably stratospheric levels by people who have either never... Well, anyway, it opens with a fruity, sparkly saffron. There's also a kind of creamier magnolia and a heavy whack of ambroxan, of course. Now the opening, if you take away that ambroxan, isn't that unpleasant actually. It's yeah, it's okay. The weird creaminess grows like cream on a radiator, with a kind of, I don't know how you describe it. There's a fruity feel in there which dominates, and yeah, the saffron then booms into a sticky, caramelized feel, and it really is so sickly and dense on me. It dries down much the same, maybe a bit heavier, thick, sweet, ironed saffron and ambroxan, obviously. I don't want to be negative about all these, and there's a market for them, obviously. You could save yourself £200, euros, whatever. This fragrance will exist for 20, 30 euros somewhere. It's, like I say, the opening is really nice. That's deliberate, isn't it? That's the hook, and spray it on your hand. Oh yeah, I'll have a bottle. And then as you walk away with your bottle from the counter, you start crying and weeping. Can I return this? No returns. You're stuck with this fragrance forevermore. And that's kind of what this is. I know this one gets quite a bit of love. Maybe people just keep spraying the opening excessively. Again, original? No. Nice? No. In my subjective opinion. But again, I don't want to be negative. So that's Queen of Silk. So next is one I actually tried quite a long time ago now. I was actually quite partial to it. I thought it was really nice. It had a bit of a weird opening. But it's a really nice fragrance actually. So, Loving White. Now it actually opens with a lovely orange and magnolia. It's not like the other opening. This is how I could tell it's been reformulated, as they say. And anyway, there's a nice dry, ricey feel with a mix of mainly white flowers to me. And the magnolia and the jasmine are the main part, with the fresh citrusy sparkle. I think the florals add a bit of creaminess to it all, with the woods, and the jasmine kind of shines quite beautifully. It dries down, wait for it, a little ambroxany with a softer jasmine and a fruity sparkle. Now, do you know what? I didn't hate this, but as nice as a fragrance as it is, as nice as beautiful as a fragrance as it used to be, the ambroxan, I'm not sure what they were thinking really. This is a lovely fragrance. Let's just add loads of sharp, headachy, unnecessary ambroxan and ruin what was a fairly pleasant and probably a very popular fragrance. But modern times, innit? So yeah, if you peel back and scrape off the ambroxan, it's nice. But because that's there now, or amped up from what it used to be, it's not for me, this one. So that's Loving Wax. Next up is probably a version of the fragrance that destroyed Creed forever. Made them lots of money and made them very famous. And it's a fragrance we all know. I mean, it's quite obscure nowadays. Nobody ever talks about it. There's not like 43 bazillion clones of it. But that's a Aventus Creed. I don't know what they've called it. Sorry, Creed Aventus Femme or something, is it? Something just to remind you. This is for ladies. It's for ladies. Nobody else. Because that's what classy niche brands do. Anyway, what was this cash grab? Sorry, what was this version of Aventus like? Well, it's got a terrible sprayer, that's the first thing. It opens with a musky blackcurrant and apple, a strong patchouli, with a sharper peachy feel. Because these are things you've never smelt before, apparently. The musk becomes quite sharp, mixing with the patchouli and the apple and peach, having that kind of hairspray feel. Mixing with the citrus, dries down with a smooth, almost vanilla fruitiness over the grainy patchouli and ambroxan. What do we say about this? Apparently this was years in the work, wasn't it? They really wanted to, you know, they must have been planning this before the success of that other one. And it's so totally not a cash grab. And what they came up with was another 90s generic nonsense fragrance. I mean, it's nothing offensive, it's not awful, you know. These hairspray fragrances had their day and they were popular, weren't they? Interesting, exciting, unique. They're not words associated with Creed, are they? So here's what it is. That's Creed Aventus Femme Woman Pointless. There we are. Next, just to go with the kind of confusing names, is Spring Flowers. Now, again, I have tried an older version of this, and this sample was not it. I have tried this reformulated one in store, actually. Yeah, anyway. It opens with a nice mix of citrus, coated copiously in an enormous, massive ambroxan. There's a sharp fruitiness mixing with some sort of aquatic, watery, floral feel. The ambroxan adds a bit of sharpness over every single element. As it develops, there's a nice mintiness in there. See? A nice mintiness. With the kind of peachy warmth. Yeah. The ambroxan slowly smothers it all and it dries down into a musky, peachy ambroxan hairspray. Now, again, this has promise. This could have been really nice and pretty, and I'm sure it was one of the ones I've tried. I'm sure I was quite fond of it. I even quite like the opening of this. It's quite, you know, floral, citrusy, quite pleasant, but then, yeah, the A word takes over it all. So it's pleasant. And what I will say is, just as a disclaimer, if you like ambroxan and generic fragrances, these aren't going to annoy you as much as they perhaps do me, as a wasted opportunity. But that's Spring Flowers from well, we know who it's from. Oh, so that's all it was. I thought there was another one, but there isn't. So yeah, in conclusion, now Creed anyway weren't a house for me. Now I'm not going to badmouth them, because things like Green Irish Tweed, I can see why people like that. Viking, you know, they're not unique, they're not particularly interesting, and there's a few. Silver Mountain water is fairly pleasant. Virgin Island water, fairly pleasant. You know, Aventus is what it is. It is a legend for a reason. I'm not going to slag it off. You know, the what is it? The oud? I can't even remember. It is pleasant. Spice and Woods, I thought actually that was a fairly pleasant one. But ultimately, what I'd associated them with, especially before trying these, is a kind of, it's your Jaguar driver, flat cap, tweed, leather driving gloves. They're not particularly interested in things like this. You just want something to throw on, and the more expensive, the more kind of prestige it gives them. They're not really fussed that they're completely uninteresting, and you could get, you know, a version or something very, 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 very similar for a lot of money less, and that's fair enough. That's a large, you know, target audience, isn't it? What I found from these women's ones, it's like there's another brand like this. It'll come to me. But the women's fragrances are kind of like an afterthought. Let's just throw out some generic crap. Just do it. Just put that one out. Just put that out. Smells like the 90s. Yeah, put it out. Should we make some new ones? No, let's reformulate the old ones and just put some ambroxan in, or more ambroxan. Just throw them out. They're so uninspiring and tedious, and I imagine rich tweed wearing ladies with a flat cap and leather driving gloves driving their Jaguars are probably quite uninspired by them. Obviously they've become very influency, and they're trying the old gift in the bottles kind of thing, and making them more popular. Amongst who, I don't know. Look, I hate making these videos because I don't want to be negative. They're very generic. There's nothing particularly wrong with them. They have no bearing to luxury or high quality. I mean, I'm not an expert, but if something smells exactly the same as a £20 fragrance from 30 years ago with added ambroxan, is it really that high quality? Are the ingredients really much better? They weren't for me. Like I say, I'm not going to. A couple of them were nice, were pleasant. If they weren't £300 and laden with ambroxan, I'd probably think this is really nice, but no. So what about you? What's your favourite Creed fragrance? Is Creed a house for you? Do you think these ladies' versions are just fantastic? Chanel. Sorry, just as an added bit, it's Chanel where the lady marketed ones are really quite good and nice and enjoyable, and the men's are so uninspired and generic and shower gel. Stick some lemon in some shower gel. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, folks. This hill is very big. Bye.